Welcome back to Media Week. Now for a check on the media sector's performance on the share market this week. We are joined by Chris Weston over at IG. Chris, great to see you there. First of all, let's talk about Twitter. Now, we know that Nomura has made an upgrade of the company and it seems to be fairly out of consensus.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. I mean if you just look at the price action alone, it's down. Well, prior to the upgrade, it was down 50%, and prior to the just after the earnings, since the poor earnings season, the stock was down 28%. And I actually think personally, I tend to agree with them. They've written a very compelling note. If you're a relatively low-risk trade, I mean, you could probably look to enter on a slight dip and get out just below that 29.50, the low there. I mean, there's huge support coming around $30. But basically, they're saying that around the $30 mark, the stock was basically implying significantly lower user growth, and that it was never going to become a mainstream product. It was always going to be a very niche product within the social media stage. They've argued that that's not going to be the case. They are going to become more mainstream. And ultimately, you're going to see this big situation where the velocity of monetisation is increasing significantly within the stock, so much so that it's actually the best in breed within the sector. So they think from a pure risk-reward space, in terms of what they're doing with margins, monetising user group, that actually it becomes quite good value there. And they're looking at further down the PE curve and saying from about 2017 it actually starts becoming relatively good value.
Chris, some other news out in the tech space this week, and that is that Apple, we know this morning, is now buying Beats. These are the guys who make playlists, but also those really cool Dr. Dre headphones. They're too cool for me, Chris.
No, they're too cool for me as well, Kate, to be honest. But I think they've become so cool that they're actually uncool now, to be honest. But it's not about the headphones. It's not about the headphone markets. They have a 60% market share. They're making money. They expect it to continue making money within that space. But it's about the the streaming service that you mentioned there as well, and that's really what they're trying to buy. Spotify, as we know, is the massive leader in that space, and they're going to try and take some share around that. I mean, the service stream, the streaming situation has been around since January. They've already picked up 250,000 users. And that's ultimately what Apple are trying to take advantage of. They're trying to do this better, get hold of something that could be really good in the future and buy it. So, if you look at Apple, they've actually had about 24 acquisitions in the last 19 months. They've all been very, very small. They've all been under $400 million. So this is significant in the sense that it's quite a big acquisition historically. But, at $3.2 billion, it's still only 2% of their cash and investments. So it's absolute pocket change for the company. So it's not anything game-changing for these guys. But I like the deal and I like what it represents. It's very much in line with their iOS hardware division and an episode that they're trying to really push out there as well. So I like the deal. I like what it stands for. It's not about the headphones, and it's about the data there which they're trying to push through.
Yeah, Chris, it's kind of a weird thought thinking of Dr. Dre working under Apple execs. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to wait and see how it all goes.
Great, cheers.
Chris Weston from IG joining us there. We're going to get back to James Manning now, editor and publisher of Media Week, for more on the news around this week in the sector. Let's stay in tech and let's talk Google, James, because we've seen Chromecast launch in Australia.
Yeah, it's taken a little while. It's actually just resembles a little USB key. You can plug it into your computer and you can stream video content off the web. Look, there's not a lot of specialised Australian content available for it. It does give you access to the wonderful world of YouTube, though, which is more than enough for a lot of people these days, looking at their audience numbers. A lot of people that sit down to YouTube every night. Foxtel's making its Presto movie streaming service available, though. I think that'll happen in late in June or sometime in July.
And we've also got the Gourmet Traveller this week naming the best hotels, and you know a couple of them, James. What are the best hotels? Tell us.
The Park Hyatt Hotel won the major
Sydney.
Award. Yep,
that's
here
the one
in
on
Sydney.
the harbour.
Yep, and a boutique hotel in Canberra. It's relatively new, I think, called Hotel. Picked up the award for the best boutique hotel. Yeah, and there's a special Gourmet Traveller hotel guide which comes as a bonus with the current edition.
Okay, fantastic. We've also got Clio picking up a sponsor for the Bachelor of the Year competition, and they're kind of changing the format as well this year, aren't they? Normal guys get a bit of a look in. It's not just all the celebs and the dolphin trainers.
Yeah, Renault's the major sponsor. Yeah, and instead of all celebrities, just regular guys will get a look in. Not sure how well they'll poll in the votes alongside the better-known people, though.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how that goes. We've also got a pretty good week for 21st Century Fox, with X-Men doing pretty well in Australia.
Yeah, look, Days of Future Past, the latest instalment of a franchise, which has been very good for them, opened globally $300 million. So, yeah, big business. $8 million of those dollars from the Australian opening. Of course, opened on a holiday weekend in the US, which is always good news for a big blockbuster. Val Morgan that track these sort of things because they sell all the cinema advertising in Australia. So look, it's a great year for the cinema here, and there's plenty more blockbusters to come too, Kate.
And in moves at the top, we've got a new person at the top of Nickelodeon at the moment, in fact.
Yeah, look, Jahi Naan is starting or staying with Viacom but working back in Australia for them. She's been with the company just over a decade, I think, but worked all around Asia for them, not in Australia. So she'll be taking over later this month.
Yeah, there she is,
later in
right
June.
there.
Yeah.
And in other moves, we've got Richard Mercer moving radio stations. He's moving from what was Mix FM.
Yeah.
People are going to miss that on their drive home at night.
Yeah, look, it's been rebadged Kiss FM, of course, home of Kyle and Jackie O these days, and Rosso in Drive in the afternoons. Yeah, about 17 years he was the love god he used to be called.
Yep.
He used to mask his identity, hosting that late night phone call-in sessions.
Yes.
Moved to WS7, makes a lot more sense. It's called Your Song now, his program.
Why does that make a lot more sense?
Well, it's just, you know, Kiss it's a different demo now.
Younger.
Yeah, it's gone a bit younger. The playlists, you know, so it's a much better home for Richard. Yeah.
Those love song dedications.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that low voice. All right, we've got to take a quick break. Stick with us. We've got plenty more coming up on Media Week, including the launch date for BBC First on Foxtel.